account their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space. Yet across an immense ethereal gulf, minds that are to our minds as ours are to the beast in the jungle, intellects vast, cool, and unsympathetic, regarded this earth with envious eyes, and slowly but surely drew their plans against us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving towards the Earth with enormous velocity. Professor Pearson of the observatory at Princeton confirms Farrell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet of blue flame shot from a gun, unquote. We now return you to our musical program.
Enjoy Mars candy bars, the taste that invades your mouth and explodes in your stomach.
Ladies and gentlemen, following on the news given in our bulletin a moment ago, the Government Meteorological Bureau has requested the large observatories of the country to keep an astronomical watch on any further disturbances occurring on the planet Mars. Due to the unusual nature of this occurrence, we have arranged an interview with noted astronomer Professor Pearson, who will give us his views on the event. In a few moments, we will take you to the Princeton Observatory of Princeton, New Jersey. We will return you until then to more swing music from our era.
We are now ready to take you to the Princeton Observatory in Princeton, where Carl Phillips, our commentator, will interview Professor Richard Pearson, famous astronomer. We take you now to Princeton, New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Phillips, speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton. I'm standing in a large semicircular room, pitch black, except for an oblong split in the ceiling. Through this opening, I can see a sprinkling of stars that cast a kind of frosty glow over the intricate mechanism of the huge telescope. The ticking sound you hear is the vibration of the clockwork. Professor Pearson stands directly above me on a small platform, peering through a giant lens. I ask you to be patient, ladies and gentlemen. There is any delay that may arise during our interview. Besides his ceaseless watch of the heavens, Professor Pearson may be interrupted by telephone or other communications. During this period, he is in constant touch with the astronomical centers of the world. Professor, may I begin our questions?
At any time, Mr. Phillips.
Professor, would you please tell our radio audience exactly what you see as you observe the planet Mars through your telescope?
Nothing unusual at the moment, Mr. Phillips. A red disk swimming in a blue sea. The transverse stripes across the disk are quite distinct now because Mars happens to be at the point nearest to Earth. In opposition, as we call it.
In your opinion, what do these transverse stripes signify, Professor Pearson?
Not canals, I can assure you, Mr. Phillips, although that's the popular conjecture of those who imagine Mars to be inhabited. From a scientific viewpoint, these stripes are merely the result of atmospheric conditions peculiar to the planet.
Then you're quite convinced as a scientist that living intelligence as we know it does not exist on Mars.
I'd say the chances against it are 1,000 to 1.
Well, just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Someone has just handed Professor Pearson a message. One moment, please. Professor Pearson has just handed me a message which he has received. Professor, may I read the message to our listening audience?
Certainly, Mr. Phillips.
Ladies and gentlemen, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Seismograph registered shock of almost earthquake intensity occurring within a radius of 20 miles of Princeton. Please investigate. Signed, Lloyd Gray, Chief of Astronautical Division. Professor Pearson, could this occurrence possibly have something to do with the disturbances observed on planet Mars?
Hardly, Mr. Phillips. This is probably a meteorite of unusual size, and its arrival at this particular time is merely a coincidence. However, we shall conduct a search as soon as daylight permits.
Thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past few minutes, we've been speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton, bringing you a special interview with Professor Pearson, noted astronomer. This is Carl Phillips speaking. We are now returning you to our New York studio.
dispatched a special mobile unit to the scene, and we'll have our commentator, Carl Phillips, give you a word description as soon as he can reach there from Princeton. In the meantime, here is some music. We take you now to Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Phillips again at the Wilmot Farm, Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Professor Pearson and I made the 11 miles from Princeton in 10 minutes. I haven't had a chance to look around yet. Yes, I guess that's it. That's the thing. Directly in front of me, half buried in a vast pit. Must have struck with terrific force. The ground was covered with splinters of a tree. It must have struck on its way down. But what I can see of the object itself, it doesn't look very much like a meteor. It's not a beam. It's more like a huge cylinder. It has a diameter of, what would you say, Professor Pearson? What was that? What would you say? What is the diameter?
About 30 yards.
About 30 yards. The metal in the sheath is, I've never seen anything like it. The color is sort of yellowish white. Curious spectators are now pressing close to the object in spite of the efforts of police to keep them back. They're getting in front of my line of vision. Would you mind standing to one side, please?
We're trying to climb it.
Hey, stand to one side. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish I could convey the atmosphere, the background of this fantastic scene. Hundreds of cars are parked in field and Douglas. Police are trying to rope off the roadway leading to the farm, but it's no use. They're breaking right through. The car's headlights throw an enormous spot in the pit, where the object's half buried. Some of the more daring souls are now venturing near the edge. Their silhouettes stand out against the metal sheen. One man wants to touch the thing. He's having an argument with a policeman. The policeman wins. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's something I haven't mentioned in all this excitement. But now it's becoming more distinct. Listen.
It's solid.
You hear it? It's a curious humming sound. It seems to come from inside the object. I'll move the microphone nearer. Now we're not more than 25 feet away. Can you hear it now? Oh, Professor Pearson. Yes, let me know. Can you tell us what meaning is that scraping noise inside the thing?
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I see. Do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial, not found on this Earth. Friction from the Earth's atmosphere usually tears holes in the meteorite. This thing is smooth and, as you can see, of cylindrical shape.
But just a minute. Something's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, this is terrific. The end of the thing is beginning to flake off. The top is beginning to rotate like a screw. The thing must be hollow.
What is that? It's so scary.
I've never seen anything like this.
Good heavens! Something's wriggling out of the shadow like a gray snake. Now it's another one. And another. They look like tentacles to me. There, I can see the thing's body. It's large. Large as a bear, and it glistens like what that. That face. Ladies and gentlemen, it's indescribable. I can hardly force myself to keep looking at it. The eyes are black and gleam like a serpent. The mouth is V-shaped. It's alive and dripping from its tremulous lips. It seems to pulsate. Whatever it is, it can hardly move. It seems weighed down by possibly gravity or something. The thing's raising up. It's the most extraordinary experience. I can't find words. I'll have to stop the description until I can take a new position. I'll be right back.
We are bringing you an eyewitness account of what's happening at the Wilmot Farm in Grover's Mill, New Jersey. We now return you to Carl Phillips at Grover's Mill.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, here I am, back at the stone wall that adjoins Mr. Wilmot's garden. From here I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail, as long as I can talk, as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up cordon in front of the pit, about 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. The captain is conferring with Professor Pearson. Now they've parted. The professor moves around to one side, studying the object, while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole. A flag of truce! If those creatures know what that means. What anything means. Wait, something's happening.
What is that?
A humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against the mirror. What is that? There's a jet of flame spraying from the mirror!
now continue with more music.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been handed a message that came in from Grover's Mill by telephone. At least 40 people, including 6 state troopers, lie dead in a field east of the village of Grover's Mill. Their bodies burned and distorted beyond all possible recognition.
Bonnie paper towels. Bonnie's super absorbent power is now increased 25% with the addition of asbestos. Asbestos. It's the bestest.
And now, further details of the catastrophe at Grover's Mill are coming in. The strange creatures, after unleashing their deadly assault, crawled back into their pit and made no attempt to prevent the efforts of the firemen to recover the bodies and extinguish the fire. Combined fire departments of Mercer County are fighting the flames which menace the entire countryside. We have been unable to establish contact with our mobile unit at Grover's Mill, but we hope to be able to return you there at the earliest possible moment. In the meantime, we take you to... Just one moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness of the tragedy. Professor Pearson has been located at a farmhouse near Grover's Mill, where he has established an emergency observation post. Professor Pearson.
Of the creatures in the rocket cylinder at Grover's Mill, I can give no authoritative information either as to their nature, their origin, or their purposes here on Earth. Of their destructive instrument, I might venture some conjectural explanation. For want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray. It's all too evident that these creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. It is my guess that in some way they are able to generate an intense heat in a chamber of practically absolute non-conductivity. This intense heat they project in a parallel beam against any object they choose by means of a polished parabolic mirror of unknown composition, much as the mirror of a lighthouse projects the beam of light. That is my conjecture at the origin of the heat ray.
Thank you, Professor Pearson. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a bulletin from Trenton. It is a brief statement informing us that the charred body of Carl Phillips has been identified in the Trenton Hospital. Now here's another bulletin from Washington, D.C. Office of the Director of the National Red Cross reports 10 units of Red Cross emergency workers have been assigned to the headquarters of the state militia stationed outside Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Here's a bulletin from State Police, Preston Junction. The fires at Grover's Mill and vicinity are now under control. Scouts report all quiet in the pit and no sound of life appearing from the mouth of the cylinder. Taking now to the field headquarters of the state militia at Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
This is Captain Lansing of the Signal Corps, attached to state militia, now engaged in military operations within the vicinity of Grover's Mill. Situation arising from the reported presence of certain individuals of an unidentified nature is now under complete control. The cylindrical object, which lies in a pit directly below our position, is surrounded on all sides by 8 battalions of infantry, without heavy field pieces, but adequately armed with rifles and machine guns. All cause for alarm, if such cause ever existed, is now entirely unjustified. The things, whatever they are, do not even venture to poke their heads above the pit. I can see their hiding place plainly in the glare of the searchlights here. With all their reported resources, these creatures can scarcely stand up against machine gun fire. A quick thrust, and it'll all be over. Wait a minute. I see something on top of the cylinder. No, it's nothing but a shadow. Now the troops are on the edge of Wooden Farm. 7,000 armed men closing in on an old metal tube. Wait, that wasn't a shadow. It's something moving. Solid metal, kind of shield-like affair rising up out of the cylinder. It's going higher and higher, Wade. It's standing on the legs. It's rearing up on some kind of metal framework. Now it's reaching above the trees and the searchlights are running. Hold on!
This update is brought to you by Parker Chemical, your trusted pharmaceutical manufacturer since 1907. Remember, if you can't helium and you can't carry it, then you might as well bury it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our own eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at Grover's Mill has ended in one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by any army in modern times. 7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors. Their rest strewn over the battle area from Grover's Mill to Plainsboro. Crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, who burned to cinders in its heat ray. Highways to the north, south, and west are clogged with frantic human traffic. Police and army reserves are unable to control the bad flight. At this time, martial law prevails throughout New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. We are informed the central portion of New Jersey is blacked out from radio communication due to the effect of the heat ray upon power lines and electrical equipment. Astronomers report continued gas outbursts at regular intervals on planet Mars. It is feared Professor Pearson was lost in recent battle.
Now from Langdon Field, Virginia, scouting planes report that Martian machines are visible above the treetops moving north towards Somerville, with the population fleeing ahead of them. They seem to be making a conscious effort to avoid destruction of the cities and countryside. However, they stop to uproot power lines, bridges, and railroad tracks. Their apparent objective is to crush resistance, paralyze communication, and disorganize human society.
Here's a bulletin from Stastny, New Jersey. Hunters have stumbled on the second cylinder similar to the first, 20 miles south of Morristown. Army field pieces are proceeding from York to blow up second invading unit before a cylinder can be opened and the fighting machine ready. They're taking up position in the foothills of Watchung Mountains.
Another bulletin from Langdon, Virginia. Scouting planes report enemy machines, now 3 in number, increasing speed northward, kicking over houses and trees in an evident case to form a conjunction with their allies south of Morristown. Machines also sighted by telephone operating east of Middlesex within 10 miles of Plainfield. Just a minute, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we've run special wires to the artillery line in adjacent villages to give you direct reports in the zone of the advancing enemy. First, we take you to the battery of the 22nd Field Artillery located in the Watchung Mountains.
Range 32 meters!
32 meters!
Projection 39 degrees!
39 degrees!
Fire!
140 yards to the right, sir!
Ship range 31 meters!
31 meters!
Projection 37 degrees!
37 degrees!
Fire!
Go ahead, sir! We got to try one of them! Hey, stop! The others are trying to repair it!
Quick, get the range! Ship 30 meters!
30 meters!
Projection 27 degrees!
27 degrees!
Fire!
I see the shell land, sir! They're letting off smoke!
What is it?
The black smoke, sir! Moving this way, line close to the ground is moving fast!
Put on gas masks! Get ready to fire! Ship 24 meters!
24 meters!
Projection 24 degrees!
24 degrees!
Fire! Get the range! 23 meters! 22 degrees!
Armored bomber flying to B-843 off Baldwin, New Jersey. This boat, according to Green Fairfax, Langdon Field. Enemy drop-out machines now in sight. Reinforced with 3 machines from the Morristown cylinder, 6 altogether. 1 machine already crippled. Believed to hit the shell from arm gun and Watchung Mountains. Guns now pure silent. A heavy black fog hanging close to the earth of extreme density. Nature unknown. No sign of the heat ray. Enemy now turns east across the safe river to the Jersey marshes. Another straddles the Pulaski Skyway, having been projected to New York City. Pushing down a high-tension power station. Machines are close together now. We're ready to attack. Plane circle, ready to strike. 1,000 yards and we'll be over the first. 800 yards. 600. 400. 200. There they go! The giant arm raised! Green flash! They're spraying us with flame!
I'm speaking now from the roof of the Broadcasting Building, New York City. The bells you hear are ringing to warn people to evacuate the city as the Martians approach. Estimated in the last 2 hours, 3 million people have moved out along the roads to the north. Hutchinson River Parkway still keeps open for motor traffic. Avoid bridges to Long Island, hopelessly jammed. All communication with the Jersey Shore closed 10 minutes ago. No more defenses. Our army wiped out. Artillery, Air Force, everything wiped out. This may be our last broadcast. We'll stay here to the end. People are holding service below us in the cathedral. Now I look down the harbor, all manner of boats overloaded with fleeing population rolling out from the docks. Streets are all jammed. Noise in the crowd like New Year's Eve in the city. Wait a minute. Enemy now in sight above the palisades. Five great machines. The first one is crossing the river. I can see it from here. Wading the Hudson like a man wading through a brook. A bulletin's hanging. Martian cylinders are falling all over the country. One outside Buffalo, one in Chicago, St. Louis. Seem to be constant. Now the first machine reaches the shore. He stands watching. Looking over the city. He waits for the others. They rise like a line of new towers over the city's west side. Now they're lifting their metal hands. This is the end now. Smoke comes out. Black smoke drifting over the city. People in the streets see it now. They're running towards the East River. Thousands of them dropping in like rats. Now the smoke's spreading faster. It's reached Times Square. People trying to run away from it, but it's no use. They're falling like flies. Now the smoke's crossing 6th Avenue. 5th Avenue. 100 yards away. It's 50 feet.
Lucky Strike cigarettes. Ladies and gentlemen, when you want the best smoke a man can get, remember that doctors prefer Lucky Strike 3 to 1.
As I set down these notes on paper, I'm obsessed by the thought that I may be the last living man on earth. I have been hiding in this empty house near Grover's Mill, a small island of daylight cut off from the black smoke from the rest of the city of the world. All that happened before the arrival of these monstrous creatures in the world now seems part of another life. A life that has no continuity with the present. Furtive existence of the lonely derelict who pencils these words on the back of some astronomical notes bearing the signature of Richard Pearson. I look down at my blackened hands, my torn shoes, my tattered clothes, and I try to connect them with a professor who lives at Princeton, and who on the night of October 30th looks through his telescope, an orange flash of light on a distant planet. My wife, my colleagues, my students, my books, my observatory, my world. Where are they? Did they ever exist? Am I Richard Pearson? What day is it? Do days exist without calendars? Does time pass when there are no human hands left to wind the clocks? I keep a watch at the window. From time to time, I catch sight of a Martian above the black smoke. The smoke still holds the house in its black coil. But at length there is a hissing sound, and suddenly I see a Martian mounted on his machine, spraying the air with a jet of steam as if to dissipate the smoke. I watch in the corner as his huge metal legs nearly brush against the house. Exhausted by terror, I fall asleep. It's morning. Morning. Sun streams in the window, the black cloud of gas is lifted, and the scorched meadows to the north look as though a black snowstorm has passed over them. I venture from the house. I make my way to a road. No traffic. Here and there a wrecked car, baggage overturned, a blackened skeleton. I push on north. For some reason, I feel safer trailing these monsters than running away from them. And I keep a careful watch. I have seen the Martians. Feed. I must keep alive. 2 days I wander in a vague northerly direction through a desolate world. Finally I noticed a living creature, a small red squirrel in a beech tree. I stare at him in wonder. He stares back at me. I believe at that moment the animal and I share the same emotion, the joy of finding another living being. I push on north. I find dead cows in a brackish field. Beyond the charred ruins of a dairy, the silo remains standing guard over the wasteland like a lighthouse deserted by the sea. The next day I come to a city vaguely familiar in its contours, yet the building strangely dwarfed and leveled off, as if a giant hand sliced off its highest towers with a capricious sweep of his hand. I reached the outskirts. I found Newark undemolished, but humbled by some whim of the advancing Martians. Presently, with an odd feeling of being watched, I caught sight of something crouching in a doorway. I made a step towards it, and it rose up and became a man. A man armed with a large knife.
Stop! Where did you come from?
I come from many places, a long time ago, from Princeton.
Princeton, huh? That's near Grover's Mill.
Yes.
Grover's Mill. There's no food here. This might into town, down to the river. There's only food for one. Which way are you going?
I don't know. I guess I'm looking for people.